This is the podcast overview for the objectives on Chapter 12, Self-Regulation, Nutrition. So first we're going to start off by distinguishing between the various types of eaters. We eat differently when we are stressed out. So we'll take a look at some of the patterns that start to emerge during our stress and how that affects what we eat and how we eat. Then it is necessary to look at the breakdown in the types of nutrients and components of food. So this really gets into the nitty-gritty. We break down the Institute of Medicine Food and Nutrition Board's current guidelines of the components of food and how much of each food we should be consuming and taking in. And it gets very specific into what the breakdown of different nutrients are that our body requires, how much, how often, and the various components of food. So lots of details here. Good to take notes, have note cards on this. Would help kind of keep it all fresh and relevant. Then we're going to look at the various types of fats. So here's where we turn to the bad parts of our diet. So it's like, what should we have? What's the good stuff? And then what's the bad part, right? So types of fats that we receive through foods, some of which are good, some of which are bad. We tend to eat more of the bad in our society, and the foods that we most commonly gravitate towards tend to have the bad fats in them. That's what makes them taste so good. We'll then look at the various vitamins that are necessary to maintain health and how much of each of those vitamins we should be getting in the typical diet. We'll look at a category of functional foods. It's called functional foods, and what falls into this category, often ignored and underestimated by the food labeling industry. We don't typically always see some of these types of things in our food lists. When you look on the nutrient labels of food, it will often not include certain elements that are not considered a vitamin or mineral. We'll look at the various antioxidant vitamins, which fall into the functional foods category, and minerals and what the daily intake is of those. And then explain how food is seen as medicine for ailments and illnesses of the body, how food can actually be a prescription for better health. And can be used to treat all sorts of illnesses, psychological and physical, in the body, and has been doing so for hundreds, thousands of years. And we'd be keen and wise to understand how that all works. We'll then turn to looking at the effects of some negative aspects of our dietary intake, things like coffee and tea. I know we love it so much, but the negative impacts of coffee, tea, and caffeine on stress, looking at explaining the effects of alcohol and tobacco use on the body and stress. So just some of those negative impacts and how they will affect our body. Then looking at the BMI, body mass index table, knowing how to calculate BMI and how it is used in a clinical setting for determining people's level of obesity or being overweight, how it can be sometimes misinterpreted, but more often than not used in a good way as an indicator to help us maintain healthy body mass index. We'll look at explaining the contributors to obesity today. We are the most obese nation in the world, and it didn't happen overnight. So we'll look at some of the models used to understand the impact of obesity, how it's affecting us today. what our current mindset is regarding obesity, and how to overcome it, what some of the goals are in that, as well as current guidelines for weight loss. If one is needing to lose weight, how might they do that in a healthy way? And this requires being familiar with the healthy eating pyramid, the components of it, which are put out by the Harvard School of Public Health, and understanding kind of what our body needs to be healthy. And that will wrap up the objectives for Chapter 12.